This is the Book Deal Podcast,
where you will discover the inspiring stories of the authors behind your favourite books.
No matter what stage of writing you're at, we've got you covered. I'm Tina Strong.
And I'm Madeleine Cleary, and join us as we pull back the curtain of published authors.
One deal at a time.
The Book Deal Podcast acknowledges the traditional owners of the land and waters which it's recorded on, and pays respect to their elders past, present and emerging. Jessica Box is an award-winning growth executive leading product marketing and insights in plus $1 billion valued tech companies. She's the founder of Matched, a knowledge-sharing marketplace with 250 plus vetted advisors and coaches. She successfully grew Linktree from 2 million to 45 million customers and helped Slack, Optimizely and Braintree launch in Australia. She's also driven change for women in tech as Managing Director of Girls in Tech Australia. Jessica also happens to be my best friend, and I could not be a prouder friend. So how does Jessica's experience intersect with writing? Jessica and I have had long chats recently about the business side of being an author and what it means to wear many hats. With Jessica's experience in growth and creating authentic connections in the business world, I felt it an imperative to share her excellent advice with other writers. We chat about the role of storytelling, understanding your why, social media and content creation, coaching, how to manage your time while wearing many hats, and how to understand your own value proposition. So make sure you time box this episode into your schedule, writers. It's a great one. Hello, Jessica.
Hi, Madeleine.
This is really exciting to have you on the podcast today.
I'm really excited to be here. Long time listener and follower of all the amazing people that have been on the podcast. It feels I've got a slight imposter syndrome being here as someone who is not necessarily a published writer or focusing on that at the moment.
Wow. Well, I mean, you've been to so many different book events with me as well. You're like my book companion when we go to different types of launches and events, and I feel like you're already part of the writing community, and you're my best friend as well.
And I have always been an avid reader. So there's something about the study of books that I love. And yeah, I mean, I would love to write a book one day. So
do you remember when we first met?
Oh, I don't know if I do.
Wasn't very memorable.
I mean, it should be. But
I remember this very beautiful, tall, red-haired girl walking down the corridor in year 7. And I thought, oh, she's confident. She's going somewhere. I want to be her friend. And so thank you for being my friend.
Oh my God, that's so good. I love that. I do remember you. I don't remember the specific moment because you have the best hair ever. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, how does she have the most amazing hair and how do you maintain it? Because it's so voluminous and luscious and lovely. And then I think
we connected over hair. That's wonderful. For those, you'll have to Google it if you're listening. Jess has the most beautiful red hair, and we're always very jealous of Jess's hair. So I'm actually interested, Jess, because I mean, people were probably wondering why is Jessica Box on the podcast? And because obviously our podcast is to help motivate, encourage, aspiring writers and debut writers. But we've had some really good chats in the last few months, I think. And you provide such good advice to me about being not just an author, but I think being a business owner and a sole trader and how to present yourself and building a profile, because that has been something that you've been working on for so much in the last few years. So I thought it would be fantastic for you to come on and really help, I suppose, other writers who are looking at building, and this is something that you've said, and I was like, okay, we have to talk about this, building a portfolio career, which is such an interesting term.
Yes.
I guess going back to year 7, did you ever think that year 7 Jessica Box would be able to, what would she think about looking at your career now? How many years after? I don't want to admit how many years it's been since year 7. It's probably been 20.
Oh, golly. Yeah, it would have been far out. I think I don't think she could have conceptualized where I would be today at all. And I remember, and you've had the fortunate opportunity of doing this, but I went back to Avila, our high school, to speak to the year 8s and year 9s. And it made me really think about what I needed to hear at that point in my schooling journey to really think about not just, you know, the outcome of a specific career title per se, but the things that really lit me up and my fire, and like kind of following passions rather than just following like some form of, you know, I want to be a teacher or I want to be a doctor, etc. And I think back to our career guidance counselor. I remember sitting in his room like so vividly, him looking at my subjects and going, oh, okay, so you've got like science and like methods maths, and like I did, you know, biology, chemistry, methods maths. Oh, but you also have like drama and literature. Oh, well, so obviously you have to be a doctor or a lawyer. And I remember sitting there going, I didn't really know how to respond because neither of those resonated with me, and I didn't really know what other options there were. What's really interesting now, reflecting on, you know, if you were to see those on paper, it's the perfect synergy for someone who goes into tech, because it's got the creative, like, you know, right brain side, but also with the left brain kind of analytical, strategic thinking, you know, problem solving toolkit. And so I think if I was to like say something to my 13-year-old self, it would be just back your instincts, because my instincts were screaming at me at the time that, oh, none of this is right. And I remember before the final day when uni selections were due, I had physiotherapy as what I was going to do up until
I remember that. Yes, I remember.
And then I changed it to performing arts.
You are a creative at heart, Jess. You've always been creative. You're an excellent writer yourself. I remember reading your creative pieces in Year 12 Lit. We were both massive drama nerds in Year 12. We were part of a very small group of drama students, and we loved it. And that's where we really bonded. And so I think you've really brought that creativity to the roles that you've done throughout your entire career, and now as the CEO and co-founder of Matched as well, because I think there is a performance element in everything that you do, and it's definitely something that writers have to think about as well. Like, I know Year 12 drama for me has held me in really good stead.
Yeah, I feel like it's knowing how to tell a really good story. I think it sets you in good stead regardless of what career you're in, whether it's about yourself or whether it's about a company. So I really, like, my whole career has been at the intersection of what I would say is tech and impact. And I really have centered a lot of my decisions around what I want to do and like where I want to spend my time on how can I leave the world a better place. And I think there's so much of tech that is unknown when you're not deep working with engineers and product designers and all these things that, you know, I have the pleasure of working with every day. But all the decisions that I've made across my career have been, how can I do that? And I think such an important part of that is, you know, being able to communicate the story behind the why. And so I think when I first started my career, I didn't really there's this concept called the 5 whys by Simon Sinek. And basically it takes you like one layer deeper each time. So you get to the real heart of the true why. And so when we were building Match, we started with, we're going to build like a tech product that helps people connect, which at the surface level is like, okay, cool. This does nothing for you. And then you go a layer deeper and it's like, why are people connecting? It's because they, you know, want to be able to try and find true, meaningful, authentic, purpose-led conversations with others and learn from each other, etc. And then it's like, okay, why do they want to do that? It's because it's really hard to get access to the right type of information or the right people, because it's such a privileged opportunity to be able to connect with different people. And then the final why is, you know, you want to unlock knowledge that you have never had. So and I'm saying this because obviously as writers and everyone listening, so much of how you tell stories is getting to the heart of the true why rather than the on the surface. And I think the journey to founding Match and kind of how we got to the true why. And I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and start my own business. I've always dabbled in starting things myself, but this was the first time that I had an idea that I put in my phone that screamed at me on a Sunday morning. And it poured out of me, and I got to the why straight away. And I knew that it would be something that would motivate me for many years to come. So I say that because it's like I had to find the story that connected with me the most in order to start a business. And I think us sharing that story for Match with the world is allowing us to really create an amazing community. So anyway.
That's so interesting. I want to take that away because I think that often writers, to put things into perspective, because there's it's a really tough industry, the creative industry, and often getting to the heart of why we do what we do, it holds us in really good stead. It builds resilience, I think, and it makes us truly understand our purpose and what we're contributing to. And so I think applying that sort of layered why are we doing it? Why do we write? Oh, well, we enjoy it. But why? Why? I think that's really helpful because there is so much rejection and, even if you've published a novel, if it's not considered a bestseller and you get a solid 4 weeks out in publicity and then some things in it, you feel a little bit flat. But I think being able to tell that and craft that narrative, I think is really, really important. And yes, storytelling is really, really important as well in building your brand. And that people talk about this in the author world about having an authentic brand. And it's often really hard to understand what that is.
Yeah, and it helps. I think the depth of the why helps you weather the storms. Like I would say there's been so many times where I went, okay, I'm not cut out for this. I'm going to give up. And anchoring on that it gives you a higher purpose or a higher order thinking. And writers, you are your own business. Like you are the business. So to think about it in that way, but take it a layer deeper into the true purpose. Yeah, as you say, it will connect you more strongly to the why, but then also like to help you weather all of the challenges because, of course, everyone always has challenges and setbacks.
So in terms of your career, because you were saying that tech is the perfect fit for you, was that when you were doing your performing arts degree, was that the natural thing for you to fall into tech or did it take some time?
It definitely took time, and I think I'm a big fan of not saying that people are lucky. I think luck is not it. I think you work really hard and then you create opportunities that you naturally attract because of hard work. Like I worked really, really, really hard, and then I think I said yes to a lot of opportunities. And so when I was in performing arts, I mean, this was like at the start of the iPhone coming out. I was always the person that had like the latest tech.
You were.
And I was drawn to, I think it's just like the way it connected people and the opportunities that you had to access information, which is funny because Match's whole purpose is around that now. And yeah, I think I just also I did a master's, which you pushed me to do because I finished performing arts and I was really lost. And I kind of went, I love this part of storytelling, but I'm super analytical. Like my dad is a very analytical person. My mum's a creative, and so I'm the intersection of the two of those people. And I'd lent so heavily into my creative side for so long. I danced for 20 years. There was just like so much of that. And then I started to lean a little bit more into my analytical side, and I realized that I really loved it. And the intersection of the two is tech. So I formally my kind of area of expertise in tech is growth, which is effectively how do you help a company access and serve really specific subset of customers, which obviously lots of writers need to do as you're picking your genre and then also specifically the target audience, because you can't hit everyone with what you're writing.
So that's so interesting, Jess, because as creatives we often don't think about these types of business side of being an author, and the business side isn't necessarily something that comes very naturally to authors, particularly because a lot of authors are quite introverted. Our preference is to stay home and be on our couch or on our study or wherever we write, huddled in our words, and then suddenly we're meant to have a profile, we're meant to look at, pushing our work and communicating and connecting and attending events and building something that's meaningful and authentic, whatever that means. So what advice would you say about how we grow our business as authors?
I think it has to be anchored in the authenticity, right? I think even more so now. So growth as a discipline for a long time was like paid advertising, looking at data and going, okay, how do you like target a specific subset of customers with a message?
Yes, and also with no money as well.
Yeah, which you can do that. But do you know what's changing? And my most recent executive role before starting Match was at Linktree, and I was the first leadership hire outside of the founders. So it was a wild time. The company had was starting to generate revenue, but hadn't taken on what I would call like venture capital funding, which then accelerates growth. So I had gone through this stage of like just throwing a lot of money at bringing in customers, which is really interesting. Obviously it works. But what's happening now in a world of AI is all of the existing channels are breaking. So what's been really interesting lately is there's reports coming out of like businesses and companies spending 70% less on their paid advertising in the last quarter alone because it's not working. So and I say that because as writers, like you are generating content. Not only, I mean, obviously you're creating amazing, whether it's manuscripts or publishing novels, but then you have this extra layer where you need to create content to share your amazing manuscripts and novels. And so at Linktree, we worked really close with creators, but from all different varying areas, whether that is musicians who, create music and then trying to disseminate, whether it is actual, artists like, fine artists who are then kind of, publishing and sharing their art online and then, doing some, different versions of how they, tailor specific pieces to their audience. But the reason I say that is probably breaking it down into two parts. Like you've got your craft that you are so passionate about that you want to spend all your time on. But then you have this whole other thing is like you need to then communicate with others to sell and like be able to generate revenue off the back of your art. And I think that tension is really, really strong because I would imagine you'd want to spend most of your time just writing. But then it's so critical to be able to build a business around yourself that is authentic to you. So my tip is like get to the heart of like the values of what makes you you. Like you know how to write and structure a really good story, but there's this kind of concept of your personal value proposition. So what is your value that you generate? Like you, for example, you obviously have published your first book this year, but you spent so much time prior to that like thinking through, okay, I'm an historical fiction writer. This is the area that I want to be known for. How do I spread the message out of me as a historical fiction writer? And then naturally, when you publish a book, it fits within that view of you. And so I think what people don't do well is think about being really deliberate around who they are and what they want to be known for. And then testing that. So doing, getting really granular here.
Oh, no, we love this. This is so good. This is so helpful.
Getting really granular here, but like piece to camera. So everyone loves, there's this like shift, getting back to the AI piece, there's this real shift of towards authenticity and trust. I think trust in particular, because we're flooded with synthetic content where people are, using AI to create things and you can tell, like it's very obvious.
Yeah, and I'm finding that in my feed where things just don't look right. And then you start to doubt, you're like, wait, is this AI or is this a real person?
Yeah. Absolutely. And so that this happened recently. I saw Janine Allis, who's the founder of Boost, the Boost juice drinks. She shared a piece to camera saying, I've started to see my own face pop up in my feed and it's not me. I am communicating with all of you to let you know that these channels are my only channels that I put myself on. So as people of influence start to be kind of used in a whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or whatever platform that expands out into, I mean, it's already there in terms of, name, image, likeness is what I would call this, where people can take that and then go into ChatGPT and say, oh, create me a piece of content like Janine Allis would and with Janine Allis's face. And then it spits it out. And so it's quite frightening. And the reason I say this is because it's so important that people are connecting with authentic content right now. And the trust piece is so important. So this like in-person events, in-person connection, I think we're going to see a big flock back to that because there's this level of trust. So if you're investing in any area, it's like your piece to camera, like you as a person talking, which is really hard. I mean, I personally struggle with So I find I have to like work myself up to it. And my co-founder Susan and I, we've started this, like, we're actually doing like quasi podcast style in-person sessions where we talk to each other and then we turn them into little videos, because
that's much better. That's actually better, because I find it really I actually don't do it. What do you call it? What is it? Piece to
camera. So you talk to the camera, but you talk to each other. So like we're doing, but we sit in front of each other and then we have two cameras, one facing each other. Then we talk to each other. So it's more authentic. It's like this, but then you stitch it together, and there's like tools. Use a platform called Veed that basically, well, this is the good part of AI. It like takes our content and pulls out the best snippets into like 1 or 2 minute bites. So anyway, all of that is to say, I think there's this giant shift happening. And then this concept of like, we're talking about profile, but really it's a brand. In our world, what's happening right now is everyone is investing really heavily in brands. Like tech companies, it's the thing that you own, because so much of what's changing is like you actually don't own that all that much. Like you don't own your audience if you're paying for it from Meta or Instagram or etc. But your brand is something that you own, and you can communicate the message, and the investment is starting to pay off for people who do that. So
that's so interesting. I didn't actually really think about that you don't own your audience if your audience is purely on Instagram or TikTok, because it's you're using a platform and they are on a platform. But if you're out and about in events, if you're attending and people are turning up for you, reading your book, consuming your content, providing feedback to you, that's different. Like you do own that more, I think.
Absolutely. And like newsletters and things like that, like I really push people to do that, because you've got email addresses, you've got like, you can actually communicate directly. Whereas in a social sense, you're also beholden to the algorithm. So like, I think there's something like at the moment, only 10 to 20% of your audience who actually follow you will see your content. So even then it's like a lower percentage. And I've got a very funny story about owning audience. When I was at Linktree, and it was Super Bowl Sunday in the US, we all got up on Monday morning, and Elon Musk had just taken over Twitter, and Twitter had shut down access to Linktree on Twitter, full stop. No one could click out to a Linktree link at all. And so all of our creators like flooded, well, now called X, still Twitter to me, but saying, what's happening, blah, blah, blah. And there was this like published piece, like in, T's and C's have been updated on Twitter, these types of external links are not allowed anymore. And so we all
in an instant, there goes your whole modus operandi, right?
So it wasn't even Linktree; it was more the creators. Like all their audience, they couldn't access their audience. And so we had this Monday morning in the US, Sunday night, Monday morning in Australia, Sunday Super Bowl. Like Elon Musk is at the Super Bowl, and we all get on this crisis call, and then we realize quite quickly that it's going to be overturned. Right. And you could just, like, from a legal perspective, we had a general counsel who was super amazing, got on the call and basically said, yeah, no, it's going to get overturned. So what we actually did, and this is a good lesson in like capturing moments, we went, okay, so we've got like high volumes of traffic coming to Linktree, the website, to see what's going on, because it's everywhere. And how do we kind of like own a really interesting narrative or voice within all of this? And so Alex, the CEO of Linktree, has a Tesla. And so I was on a call and I said, how about we get cheeky and actually just say, don't make me sell my Tesla at Elon Musk. And that was what he did. And it ended up on the like a headline in the Sydney Morning Herald and a whole bunch of stuff. So I say this because like the owning the audience piece is like, it's so volatile, but then you can also like, there's ways to kind of be creative that generate a lot of like interest in those moments as well. So,
well, it reminds me of when I can't remember if it was Donald Trump that just closed. Well, no, it wasn't Donald Trump. It was the TikTok got banned in the US for like 4 days or something. And then Donald Trump said he would overturn it, I think, if he was elected. But
the US, like all the execs in the US have this big sweeping, like, we'll just knock everything out. And then and it's obviously a lot of it's share price. But some of it.
But isn't it amazing that TikTok could just turn off their creators in the US for that? Oh, was it global? Or no, I think it was just in the US, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then suddenly all these people and their platform is gone and it goes dark and you don't have that control. But you're right. Everyone says that newsletters and Substacks are really good, like creating that. I just find it's really hard because, and this is something I really wanted to talk to you about, is trying to balance where you put your energies into.
Yeah.
Because you do have so many different priorities, and often for me my Substack goes to the lowest.
Yeah.
And so perhaps this is like a good idea that maybe to move towards like talking about creating a portfolio career and one that's sustainable. I think sustainable is probably one of the key words. Because, and I'll actually maybe tell us a little bit about what the concept is, and then we can have a chat.
Yeah. So I would describe a portfolio career as having a collection of things that you are passionate about and being able to monetize from multiple of them. So typically you would think about a full-time job as where you get your money. What is changing is people are looking for more optionality in where they generate their income from, but they're also leaning more heavily into purpose. So obviously lots of writers and emerging writers listening to this, like I would imagine you're very passionate about your writing, but you also are probably in a job that sustains your life or, pays the bills. And I think the concept of portfolio career is breaking that down into, okay, how do I have a collection of things that I'm passionate about and also brings in income that I can capture value from is effectively what I would call that. So I've always been, and then there's another funny word for this that I would call a slasher. So as in like I am a CEO / a co-founder / an advisor / a board director / a wife / a dog mum to my dog Whiskey. And the whole concept of that is being able to put all the things out there. And I have my coach, we call these wearing the hats. And so I have like a bucket for each of my different hats and the energy that I want to kind of put into each. And I think what happens is when you start building out something like this conceptually as a portfolio career, it can be really overwhelming because you think that you have to give equal energy to all the things, which is just
what I'm finding. It's really tough. Because, I mean, for writers, we also wear many hats. We are the author. And like you said, we've got the day job, but we also do other things. Like we might do, like at the moment, it's book week is on. So a lot of authors are out in schools. They're running workshops. We do library events. We do speaking events and keynotes. We attend writers' festivals. We run podcasts. So we do have lots of hats. And it is, I think, if you've got any tips on how you how do you avoid burnout?
Yeah. So I've got two things that and I will say I'm not always good at this. Like I think there's periods of time, like probably right now I'm flying to Europe on Sunday and I've structured exactly how I'm going to operate the 3.5 weeks so that I get downtime. So there's 7 days where I'm going to be fully offline. Anyway, this is like a good lead into one of the pieces, which is time boxing. I think being really specific, and this is I'll get really detailed on this because I take it to the extreme. My calendar is like a series of time boxes. So when I've got a task that I need to, I think there's this like theory that like if you don't time box, you'll just let it fill as much time as is allocated. Whereas if you put in like say a half an hour, I'm going to spend half an hour on that specific time, then you either like it gives you the correct weighting for an item. So I'll give you an example that literally after this I've got 2 1-hour time blocks for things that I need to do. One of them is like just kind of wrapping up and making sure I send out like all my last emails before I head off, and then I've got to review a specific document for a company that I advise. And so if I like didn't put say 45 minutes in, I could just end up spending 3 hours on it. And so it also from a cognitive load perspective means I don't have to keep creating to-do lists. So I just like map it all out at the start of the week and I go, yep, so that's my time boxing there. I will say it's like so structured. And so my thing is, well, I need rest or like a reset. My thing about travel is that it's the total opposite. So I love like spending time totally unstructured because I'm so structured in day to day.
Jess, you've just changed my life, I think. This is actually so useful and helpful, time boxing, because I'm just sitting here going, oh my God, this is going to change everything for me. Because I think the problem, and particularly for me and probably for other writers, is that anything that takes us away from the writing, I feel incredibly guilty about.
Yeah.
And I feel, and I beat myself up about it. However, if you put scheduled time in your week or over a couple of weeks and say, okay, I'm going to, like, I need to set aside time to read a book and prepare for an author interview. This is the allocated time that I'm going to do it in.
Yep.
And that's set and done. And I'm not going to feel guilty if I can't do the writing around that, because you've gone in and you've allocated it. Like, I think that's super, super helpful. And I also think that you're right about, if you don't allocate time to a task, you can just absolutely fill whatever time you have. I find that with writing, this is something Tina, my co-host, has said, that she has a block. She has a 1 hour block in the morning for her writing, and she will smash her writing. She will not do anything else. That's all she'll focus on. And I've started to employ that, because I found with my writing, I would just, if I had 3 or 4 hours, I would just kind of pick up other things and not focus. But if you do it in like blocks and chunks, I think it's so much better and better for your focus.
That's it. I was about to say, and something that you were touching on there is, it's like, once it's in there, then you don't have to think about it, because there's something to be said about like the juggle of all the balls. If all the balls are in the air, then you're thinking about them all at the same time, rather than going, okay, I know that, say on a Friday, every Friday I have a 1 hour block where I think about social media, and then I schedule my content, and then I'm done. Or you have like a 1 hour block where you shoot your content, and then those types of things. Because particularly when it's things that like don't give you the same energy, you want to make sure that you're not just, like, to your point, feeling guilty about like doing other things, but it's all got a specific time. The other part is like not pretending like you shouldn't be doing it, because I think you can give yourself your internal monologue where it's like, oh, but like, no, I don't need to do that. But you actually do. So allocating the time means that, you know, it's got a time and a space for it to exist, rather than you feeling like, oh, well, no, I shouldn't be doing that.
Hello, my name is Holly Cardamone, and I am so excited to speak to you about my upcoming debut novel, Summer in Between. Summer in Between is a young adult contemporary novel about a firecracker bookworm, a Neanderthal surfer, and one unforgettable summer. So imagine if Looking for Ellie Brandy and Puberty Blues had a book baby. That's my novel, but in a little more detail. It's New Year's Day, and Kat is 17 and lives in Batters Cove, a small beach town 90 minutes from the city. It's a town where testosterone mixes freely with casual and overt racism, and she honestly cannot wait to get out. Now, Kat has a chaotic, noisy family, including an imposing, interfering nonna, 2 boisterous younger brothers, and parents who are continually flirty with each other to the point of get a room. She has friends that she adores, but they're scattered hundreds of kilometres apart, and her only contact with them for the summer is online. Kat is obsessed with her upcoming Year 12 studies. She believes that they'll make or break her future. She honestly says that the marks that she gets at the end of Year 12 will be her ticket out of town. So she has a plan, and that's to study hard, get into university, and get out of Butters Cove. And part of her plan is to avoid the local Neanderthals, the surfers who take over the beach, including their king, Paul Lightwood, who is the hottest of the hot. Paul is someone who's been on Kat's periphery for years. He can eat fur without a splash, he loves music and making playlists, and he's had his own hopes and dreams thwarted. Everyone loves Paul, except for Kat. She's completely immune to his charms, and she thinks he'd have a crack at a stop sign if it looked at him the right way. So summer's becoming very interesting and confusing when Paul starts working for Kat's dad at Kat's house for the entire summer. So throw in a beach party or 2, night markets, gelato, cliff jumping into the ocean, and we have summer in between. Thank you so much, Madeleine and Tina, for the opportunity to chat to you.
This is so good. I'm going to implement. I'm so excited about this. This is going to change everything. And this is much more healthy, I think. And I guess you do have to allocate time to time box, right? Like, you do have to put in the effort to do that as well.
Yeah, my favorite time to do that is on a Monday morning. So I do some of it on Sunday, but I'm very rigorous calendar person. And there's another hot tip, color coding brings me joy. It makes my husband fearful when he looks at my calendar, but I feel like everything's got its place. So I have all my personal things in there, and then each of my like advisory things, like Matched is, orange. Oh, I can send you a screenshot of what it looks like, but it's all got different colors. And it's helpful to me because then when I look at my calendar at a glance, I can see like where I'm allocating my time. And if I've got too much advisory on one day, I can tell my brain's going to context switch too much. And so then I go, oh, well, I can't do that today. I'll move it to another day.
Oh, this is brilliant. I love this. I'm so excited. Okay.
And this is great for type A people.
It's so good. And, I think you're spot on too about allocating time for social media content, because social media, I know we touched on it just before, but I think it's good to come back to it. Because it is like that's another hat that authors have to wear, and not necessarily one that we're really good at. So I guess if you've got any tips about what can we do, and we were just talking before about how we might be flipping back to more of that face-to-face in-person stuff, but I still think it's going to play a role in future for creatives as well. So do you have any tips about, maybe it's coming back to what you were saying earlier about looking at the whys as well, like looking at why we do it. Are we doing it to try and sell books? Because it's probably not very good tool to sell books, but is it to build connection? So how do authors get joy from social media? How do we create boundaries around social media? And what tips do you have for us?
Yes. So I think it is connected to the 5 whys. And I would say my number one thing is to find your unique voice. And I feel like that would resonate really well with writers, because it's like you've got to find your writing voice. Yes. But you also have to find your unique social media voice. And this one needs to be at the intersection of what you love and what people want to hear. And
I've never heard that before. That's so good.
Yeah. So what you love, but it is obviously, if you just talk about what you love, then, you may not find the right audience. Yeah. But the second part is like what do people actually want to hear about? And, I would say if I was picking, and there's 2 parts to this, it's like picking a channel to start with, like just pick one. Don't try and do everything. Pick one that you're going to focus on. And then, there's this concept of habit stacking where you repeat the habit and you kind of bundle it in with other things. So if you're like writing, at the end of writing, maybe you like want to do a reflection on how that session went, and then you share that publicly as an example. And I would recommend, if you're going to pick one, it would be TikTok. Because there's so much opportunity for authentic content. It's also growing rapidly. You can also share your TikToks on Instagram, and it still does quite well. So that type of content, the kind of piece to camera that I was talking about where you talk at the camera, is what's resonating really strongly. So, and I think, not everyone is going to be comfortable with that, because, it takes a little bit of time to be able to like feel comfortable. But I would say starting with like the interview piece. So find someone who is maybe a writer that is going on the same journey as you, and just have a yap, have a conversation with each other and record it and see how it goes. And yeah, I think TikTok in particular, I mean, book talk in general is like such a big area that people are resonating with. I feel like this year has been the biggest book week in Australia. I think there's so much happening from a connectedness to like storytelling at the moment that finding your unique voice in that. And then the specific audience that people want to hear. I feel like that's a nice way to think about, you're actually generating value for people. Like people want to listen to you, rather than it just being, I'm selling my book. Think about it like, okay, it's almost like, and this is like very marketing type structures, but it's like a funnel. It is a funnel, is conceptually a funnel. So you've got your audience at the top. They're like unaware of you. They don't know you. And then as you typically people need to hear from you about between 4 to 5 times to then know who you are. And so the repetition is super important, and the consistency. So finding something that you want to talk about that you can be consistent with, and then hitting the same message a few times means that then people are going to connect with you. And so I think Yes, really allocating the time to just think about the purpose and the like getting connected to what you're going to say, and taking it away from just selling books, because people are going to buy your books if they're connecting with you and telling and hearing from you. Like you would know this from all the events that you've done, and you share the story and then everyone's like, okay, I want to read the book because the story is so amazing. That's the way to think about this. Like, don't think about it as like, I've just got to do this post because it's going to sell me like 5 books. Think about it as I've got a story to share. And I'm going to share it. And then the outcome from that is naturally, obviously, books get sold.
I'm not sure, Jess, if you can see my soul dying.
Yeah, I know that I've told you to go on TikTok before and you have not wanted to do that, but it's definitely the one. I think it's more authentic than Instagram as well. Instagram's become so first Facebook was very businessy, and then everyone went to Instagram to become like be all personal, and then Instagram started to become businessy and everyone on TikTok to be all personal. So we're going through this journey of like each channel is kind of changing. ChatGPT is going to be the next one.
Like as in community and connection on ChatGPT.
It'll be the next, what I would call distribution channel. So how people find you.
How will that work?
I mean, so 700 million people are using ChatGPT per week.
Jeez, that's insane.
They haven't done this yet. Like this is what, like, so in my tech circles, we're very big in an echo chamber at the moment. But yeah, so the way that Instagram and TikTok emerged as channels, there's a similar pattern happening with ChatGPT where it's obviously not going to be a social media channel in the same way, but each person is individually browsing, more akin to a Google, I would say, than a Instagram or TikTok.
That kind of slightly frightens me, because I know how much AI hallucinate answers and responses. So it's almost like that misinformation is really, really frightening. I actually, you know how you Google stuff and it comes up automatically with the AI response? I ignore it because I just find that a lot of the times it's wrong.
It is. I agree with you, and I think Google's not. We can get all technical, but Google's not trained on the same level of data that ChatGPT is. So ChatGPT is holding things back deliberately to get to a certain level from a tech perspective. Then when they're there, I think they'll become like akin to an Apple, where they launch apps and have like a marketplace where companies can build on top of ChatGPT. So,
this is so interesting. I've actually had quite a few chats about the future, I suppose, of creating connections, because I guess what we're talking about is connection, and we'll talk about Matched and how that's creating connections. And, you know, the way that people connect now is probably going to be very different to the way people connect in 5 years. And Instagram and TikTok, they're such good, you know, connection tools. And I've definitely enjoyed the part of social media in connecting with other authors and readers. That's been the best part. But, you know, chatting with other people, a lot of people are saying because AI is, you know, we're not sure whether content is AI generated or not, because I think humans still want to connect with humans. They don't want to connect with AI-driven content on social media. That they might be moving to platforms like Discord, where they can create groups very much about focused issue areas that they enjoy, like key issue areas that they enjoy. It goes back to what we were saying about those in-person things. And I think that's quite good. But so interested in your thoughts on that. But another thing as well, another reflection. So Ali Parker, who you know, she's a friend of the podcast. She's been saying to me that I need to get onto TikTok, and we did an event last night together, and it's really interesting. I've done 2 events now with Ali in the last couple of weeks. Ali's really good on TikTok. So for those who want a good example of TikTok, she's fantastic, very authentic. But interestingly, a lot of the events that I attend, like book events, it's attended by a certain kind of age group, I suppose. Tends to be older women. But when I have been going to the events with Ali, she attracts a younger audience because she is on TikTok, and a lot of them are, and they tell me, like, oh, I found Ali on TikTok. And so we've got now, and the positives of this is we've got this younger community reading historical fiction, consuming this kind of content, which is different, because I think traditionally booktokers are consuming like romantasy and fantasy and romance and things like that, but now they're consuming historical fiction, and they're coming together to these in-person events. They know each other. They've got this nice community. They're talking about books, and that's a really positive, I think, from that.
Yeah, it is. I fully agree. I think what you're talking about is, I would say, the concept of discovery, and like the discovery happening where it happens matters. And I think discovery on TikTok is so deep in community. Like it's so, everyone's very open. There's no kind of like, you see a lot of polish on Instagram. On TikTok, there's a lot of authenticity. And so people connect more deeply faster. So I'm not surprised like Ali spending time there is generating like there's a bit of like cult following that happens on TikTok when people like see 2 of your videos. This comes back to this funnel that I mentioned. I think it's 2 or 3, and then like they follow you, then they're hooked. If someone follows you on TikTok, they're like a really high a high value subscriber or person that like they're part of your community. So yeah, it's really interesting. But to your point, I think there's this concept of community is shifting so much, and I think we're going to have this. We're going to be quite binary. I think it'll be like everything happening on AI or everything happening in person. I think there's going to be this move to people wanting to connect with a real human.
Like I'm all here for it. You know me, I like to connect people. That's like big things. I think that's probably why we're such good friends, because we've always wanted to connect people and maintain really good connections with people. And I think that's, something that we really enjoy. So let's then talk about Matched in that vein, because I want to hear what, I know we heard about some of the whys, but tell us what your vision and goals are for Matched.
Yeah, so Matched is a knowledge sharing platform. So really what we do is we connect learners with trainers based on their goals. So someone comes into Matched and they set a goal of, I want to find a new role, or I want to write a novel, or I want to publish my first novel. And then we match them with the coaches, advisors, trainers to help them get there. And so what that really means in practice is you can go like deep in a live one-on-one session to this point around kind of this live connection piece, or you can do kind of offline reviews of work. One of those is what I've got this morning, or reviews of writing if you're a writer. And what's really amazing about that is so much of how we get access to people, and I guess the original vision behind Match is how do we make knowledge more accessible, and we want to really be a socioeconomic equalizer. So what that means is regardless of your background, you can come to Match and you can find someone and connect with them, where for so long access to really experienced people is based on who you know and your networks. And so really what we want Match to be is, it's your own network. You can build your own personal board of advisors, your personal community around you, regardless of your goals as they change over time. So say you publish a novel, then you've got different goals. You may be doing your second novel, or there's different things that you need at different points in your journey. And so we want to be the place that people go to access that knowledge.
I love this. And I think it's a really important thing to have guidance even after you've published your book, because it's different to having an agent or a publisher. This is someone who is really invested in your long-term career as whatever you want to be, and you can really set those standards. So I want to talk briefly about what it means to be a good trainer or coach, because I think it's something that a lot of authors consider offering as a service, but perhaps to have too much imposter syndrome to say I can help other writers.
Yes, I think it's very normal. It's like until you start doing it and it feels a little bit uncomfortable, you feel a bit like, not preachy, but like you're kind of like, do I have the right to say this to other people? And it's like, yes, because do you know what's really interesting about being a really good coach? You learn from that experience as much as the other person does. So I think if you go into it with that mindset of your learning of how to pass your skills on to others, then it's as valuable for you as it is for the person you're supporting. And so I think what makes a really good coach is self-awareness. really clear understanding of where you can add value. That's something we can help with. So there's sometimes like, you know that you've got a whole bunch of like skills, and then we call this concept skill stacking. So what is your skill stack that you then can communicate out? So say that, for example, would be like, reviews of writing, like certain type of words, like structural narratives, I would imagine, how to think about that. And then actual just kind of live one-on-one knowledge sharing. So, this podcast is a great example. There's so much like value that you're sharing on the whole journey of how you, emerging writer, publish a novel the whole way through, how do you get access to publishers in general, other optional paths, being able to talk to someone one-on-one about that and like personalizing it specifically is really, really great. And I think we're starting to see, thanks a lot to you. You're our first writer to sign up to Match. And we've now, literally as of next week, we'll be onboarding our first cohort of writers because exciting. Yeah. And I think it's, as I mentioned, this intersection around business people kind of figuring out what they want to do next. Like, I would love to do a nonfiction book at some point in my journey, but
publishers, if you're listening, Jess has a great profile and a great story to tell.
I mean, I just wouldn't even know where to start. So I would be the like a captive audience. And I think it's this self-awareness, right? Of, writers you may not feel like you've got the knowledge to share, but like me saying this, obviously I'm very experienced in my area, but I'm super aware that I have no knowledge in this area. So you know so much about your area, so don't like discount that that's valuable to someone who has never touched it. And I actually have quite a lot of people message me being like, are there writers on Match? Like, I'm thinking about doing a novel, blah blah blah. So yeah, I would say like just putting yourself out there and testing it out, and if it doesn't work, it's fine. Like it's like, having the conversations with people, it helps you sharpen your tools as well, like understanding what's happening, how people think about, their own narrative structures. It makes you kind of keep your tools sharp as well.
This is fantastic. So are you looking at onboarding more writers in future?
Yeah, I think we'll do this first cohort, and then we take trainer applications all the time. But if people want to drop me an email or send me a message.
So how do people get into contact with you, Jess?
Yeah, drop me a message on the Matched Insta. I think that might be the best one, or TikTok if you really want to. But send me a message on the Matched Instagram.
What's the handle for?
Yeah, Matched at match.community.
Okay, we'll make sure it's in the show notes for everyone as well. So if you want to get into contact with Jess, it's an amazing platform, and Jess is an amazing woman. And her background, we haven't even touched on all the incredible things that she has done in her career, but having a woman like Jess who's been able to really craft a career in tech, it's not an easy thing that you've done, Jess. And I'm probably one of the most proudest friends ever.
I mean, I'm the most proud of you. So catch up.
Well, our little year 7 selves, how proud would they be looking at us now, 20 years on?
That's crazy. I feel like you just couldn't even dream it up. I think that's so much about like the journey, right? You just make decisions and take the opportunities as you go.
Exactly. I feel like there's so much more to talk about. So we might need to get you back on for a part 2 later down the track, Jess, because there's so much. I've just had so much from this. We always finish though on one top tip. Is there something that you want to leave all the writers with at the end of this, Jessica?
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about this kind of burnout, the feeling the pressure to do everything and do it all. And my tip is you can do it all, just not all at once. And pick the sequencing, so the order, not the activity. So you don't need to chop things out. I think it's finding the right order to do the things in, and saying no to some things doesn't mean that you can't bring them back down the track. And building a company is like this. At each stage of a company, the company looks different, and you as writers are each mini companies. So it's this, portfolio career, but the sequencing is important. So you can't run all the way to the finish line. We'll start at the finishing line, right? You have to start at the start, and the journey is so much of how you get there. So yeah.
That's a great tip, and it reminds me of something that was really good advice you provided me, and you provide me with great top tips always. It's very helpful to have a friend like Jess. I would highly recommend it. You gave me this image, and you're always a good storyteller, but you gave me this image of the plastic plates.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So someone actually said this to me, which is a very visual way of thinking about what I just said, which is if you're spinning all the plates, one of them needs to be plastic, which I love because obviously if they fall, the plastic one doesn't break. And so find your plastic plate.
And it can be a few plastic plates perhaps as well in different periods of your life. Jessica Box, thank you so much for joining us on the Book Deal podcast. I'm going to take so much away from this.
Thank you. It's been a joy. And obviously happy to help and speak to anyone about how they set up themselves as a business. So
yeah, please do reach out to Jess and we'll get you back on for part 2. And enjoy your holiday.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Thank you for listening to the Book Deal podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the pod so you can receive updates as soon as our new eps drop. And to keep up to date with what the pod is doing, you can also find us on Instagram.